When the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he would confer with his officers and say, "We will mobilize our forces at such and such a place." But immediately Elisha, the man of God, would warn the king of Israel, "Do not go near that place, for the Arameans are planning to mobilize their troops there." As the Aramean army advanced toward him, Elisha prayed, "O Lord, please make them blind." So the Lord struck them with blindness as Elisha had asked. Then Elisha went out and told them, "You have come the wrong way. This isn't the right city. Follow me, and I will take you to the man you are looking for." And he led them to the city of Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, he shouted to Elisha, "My father, should I kill them? Should I kill them?" "Of course not," Elisha replied. "Do we kill prisoners of war? Give them food and drink, and send them home again to their master." What's up, cool people? My name is Matt. Welcome back to our Bible study. So we got 2 Kings chapter 6, and so let's see here. Elisha's now the main prophet of God in Israel, like, after the kingdom split, the northern part of Israel, not the southern part that goes by Judah, because that was the only tribe that kind of, the rest all decided, nope, we're not gonna be subject to this king down here in Judah. So, yeah. Elisha's the prophet. He has done a bunch of different things. Last chapter was about the healing of a foreign army commander. There's been some other war, conflict stuff going on, rebellions, whatever. And Elisha has at least tangentially been attached to a whole lot of events. Even the fighting and things like that. But let's see what else happens in this chapter. If there's any more context that would help with a certain portion of this, I'll mention that as we get to it. So anyway, here we go, 2 Kings chapter 6. One day the group of prophets came to Elisha and told him, "As you can see, this place where we meet with you is too small. Let's go down to the Jordan River, where there are plenty of logs. There we can build a new place for us to meet." "All right," he told them, "go ahead." "Please come with us," someone suggested. "I will," he said. So he went with them. When they arrived at the Jordan, they began cutting down trees. But as one of them was cutting a tree, his axe head fell into the river. "Oh, sir," he cried, "it was a borrowed axe." Let me pause there for a bit. Okay. So, it has mentioned the group of prophets a few times in 2 Kings. I guess this was common practice for various prophets to, spend time together. Now I understand any who might have been, part of the king's court or something like that, ones that he would ask for advice, would tend to kind of group together. But it's not even made clear that these are other prophets of the Lord. So, they could be, or they just know that Elisha has done a bunch of these miraculous things, and so that's why they're spending all this time with him. Whatever the case is. Or maybe these were like pupils of Elisha. I don't know. In any case, this group wants a bigger meeting place. Sounds reasonable enough. They're gonna set one up by the Jordan River. Somebody loses their axe head in the river. And they're kind of distressed because it was borrowed. Let's continue in verse 6. Didn't realize the section there was going to be done so soon after that, but whatever. Okay, verse 6. "Where did it fall?" the man of God asked. When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it into the water at that spot. Then the axe head floated to the surface. "Grab it," Elisha said, and the man reached out and grabbed it. That's kind of a weird method for getting the axe head, because you would think, like, the head of the axe is going to be made of metal, not generally a buoyant material. So, this is one of those things that I'm not sure we could even try and scientifically explain. In any case, it has been recovered. So, I guess since so much of 2 Kings so far has revolved around Elisha, it's just kind of, giving us the details of another one of the miracles associated with him. But we'll move along to verse 8 now. When the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he would confer with his officers and say, "We will mobilize our forces at such and such a place." But immediately Elisha, the man of God, would warn the king of Israel, "Do not go near that place, for the Arameans are planning to mobilize their troops there." So the king of Israel would send word to the place indicated by the man of God. Time and again, Elisha warned the king, so that he would be on the alert there. The king of Aram became very upset over this. He called his officers together and demanded, "Which of you is the traitor? Who's been informing the king of Israel of my plans?" Alright, I will pause there for a moment. So, I guess Elisha is just getting all this from God. Otherwise, he would have to hear by some other means quite quickly in order to give the king of Israel enough notice to clear out a certain town or area. But whatever's going on, it keeps happening over and over again, to the point where the king of Aram thinks there's what might be called a mole among them, or a traitor, or somebody who is leaking information. But it's not stated that that's how Elisha's getting his information. So, let's read on in verse 12 and get more details. "It's not us, my lord the king," one of the officers replied. "Elisha, the prophet in Israel, tells the king of Israel even the words you speak in the privacy of your bedroom." "Go and find out where he is," the king commanded, "so I can send troops to seize him." And the report came back, "Elisha is at Dothan." So one night the king of Aram sent a great army with many chariots and horses to surround the city. Alright, so, yeah, not surprising, the king of Aram, who, is at war with Israel at this time, it's not surprising that king wants the information to stop getting to Israel's king. Kind of hard to, really do well in a war or capture anything significant when the opposition continually knows where you're going to go. So, anyway, they're going to send some people to Elisha's location. But, you would think if Elisha's hearing the other stuff like he has been from God, then he's going to be able to escape. But let's see what happens in verse 15. When the servants of the man of God got up early the next morning and went outside, there were troops, horses, and chariots everywhere. "Oh, sir, what will we do now?" the young man cried to Elisha. "Don't be afraid," Elisha told him, "for there are more on our side than on theirs." Then Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes and let him see." The Lord opened the young man's eyes, and when he looked up, he saw that the hillside around Elisha was filled with horses and chariots of fire. As the Aramean army advanced toward him, Elisha prayed, "O Lord, please make them blind." So the Lord struck them with blindness as Elisha had asked. Then Elisha went out and told them, "You have come the wrong way. This isn't the right city. Follow me, and I will take you to the man you are looking for." And he led them to the city of Samaria. As soon as they had entered Samaria, Elisha prayed, "O Lord, now open their eyes and let them see." So the Lord opened their eyes, and they discovered that they were in the middle of Samaria. Okay. Tell you what, let me read these next few verses, and then I'll give some more thoughts. When the king of Israel saw them, he shouted to Elisha, "My father, should I kill them? Should I kill them?" "Of course not," Elisha replied. "Do we kill prisoners of war? Give them food and drink, and send them home again to their master." So the king made a great feast for them, and then sent them home to their master. After that, the Aramean raiders stayed away from the land of Israel. So, in this case, I guess God used Elisha to just redirect all these people who were going to capture him to the capital city of Israel and, yeah, basically thwart their efforts in that way. Now, I wouldn't think it's like a really large contingent of the army that would be going to try and capture Elisha. He's one man. You don't send, like, hundreds of troops to go capture one man, generally speaking. So, with the relatively small numbers of these, outside troops and their horses and whatnot, I guess, that makes a little more sense than that the king of Israel wouldn't just immediately go on the attack for fear of his own life and his troops. Because they probably massively outnumbered these, outsiders who came just for the purpose of capturing Elisha. But lest we be mistaken, this is all God's doing, because Elisha is praying for these things to happen. He prays, to open the eyes of the young man so that he could see. It just describes them as horses and chariots of fire. But I think there's kind of the assumption that it's like angelic armies, or at least a spiritual army of some sort. Anyway, a heavenly army, I should say. That's probably even more so implied by the chariots of fire. And then Elisha prays for them to be blinded. Then, while they are blinded, guides them to the capital city of Samaria. Then prays their eyes would be opened when they're at the point that they're, not gonna really stand a fighting chance. But I will say, at least the king of Israel asked Elisha what to do. Granted, Elisha's the one who basically delivered these guys to the king. But still, rather than just being like, nope, these guys are outsiders, they're Arameans who've been attacking us, let's kill them. He asks Elisha, and Elisha's like, no, it's just a few men. They're basically prisoners of war now. Not, opposing troops that we need to worry about in this moment. So then, because of that, and probably because of the spreading of the story, the Arameans stayed away from Israel for a while. But then we get to verse 24 here. Sometime later, however, King Ben-Hadad of Aram mustered his entire army and besieged Samaria. As a result, there was a great famine in the city. The siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver, and a cup of dove's dung sold for 5 pieces of silver. Yeah, that sounds ridiculous, and I think that's the point. Like, what would you do with a donkey's head that it'd be worth all that? Or even more so, dove's dung? What? But, I guess they were that desperate and were improvising with whatever they could to just try and get by. Hebrews says that the donkey's head sold for 80 shekels. Okay, so that would kind of specify a little more what kind of pieces of silver. Usually when it says pieces in this translation, it's shekels that they're talking about. And the dove's dung sold for 5 shekels. Dove's dung may be a variety of wild vegetable. Oh, okay. That makes a little more sense. Like, than consuming literal excrement. Might have been a nickname for a particular vegetable. Like, sometimes we'll develop nicknames for different foods or plants or whatever like that. So, let's move on to verse 26. Maybe get a little more detail on this whole siege situation and how it maybe gets resolved. One day as the king of Israel was walking along the wall of the city, a woman called to him, "Please help me, my lord the king." He answered, "If the Lord doesn't help you, what can I do? I have neither food from the threshing floor nor wine from the press to give you." But then the king asked, "What is the matter?" She replied, "This woman said to me, 'Come on, let's eat your son today, then we will eat my son tomorrow.' So we cooked my son and ate him. Then the next day I said to her, 'Kill your son so we can eat him.' But she has hidden her son." Okay, yeah, so again, even, further showing us the desperation of the people of Samaria during this siege. This almost has shades of the one trial that Solomon oversaw with the women and their 2 sons that were born like pretty much the same time, but one slept on their son and killed him by mistake. And anyway, this isn't quite the same situation. Let's see what happens here, I guess. Although, actually, before I move on, I will note, he is mentioning the Lord. Like, multiple kings of Israel would have had nothing to do with seeking the Lord in any situation. But it was mentioned before that Joram was at least less averse to seeking wisdom from the Lord, less worshipful of other gods than some of his ancestors or even just predecessors in general. So, still maybe not the most upstanding king, but better than some of the others. And the fact that the Lord is even coming up in this conversation is a clear indicator of that. Okay. So, Now we'll move on to verse 30 and see what else happens. When the king heard this, he tore his clothes in despair. And as the king walked along the wall, the people could see that he was wearing burlap under his robe next to his skin. May God strike me and even kill me if I don't separate Elisha's head from his shoulders this very day, the king vowed. Elisha was sitting in his house with the elders of Israel when the king sent a messenger to summon him. But before the messenger arrived, Elisha said to the elders, "A murderer has sent a man to cut off my head. When he arrives, shut the door and keep him out. We will soon hear his master's steps following him." So, once again, Elisha, seemingly direct from God, knows that someone's coming after him. Also, again, like, I realize it's a desperate situation, but why does the king want Elisha's head in this situation? What does Elisha have to do with this? Now, I mean, unless he's thinking back to the previous situation when they let the Arameans go, and thinking maybe that contributed to the current problem. But again, it shouldn't have been that many, troops, horses, whatever all went to capture Elisha. But whatever. So Elisha is telling the other, it says the elders, about all this. And then verse 33, which is actually where the chapter ends. Maybe I should have kept going, but it seemed like something that should go on for a while. I will note this bit does carry into the next chapter. But anyway, so verse 33 says, "While Elisha was still saying this, the messenger arrived, and the king said, 'All this misery is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer?'" I mean, with how much had been attributed to the Lord in their previous situations, it's not exactly a ridiculous conclusion for the king to arrive at. Hebrew just says he instead of the king, which could possibly have been the messenger, but that's just from a grammar standpoint. Given what's said immediately afterwards, you would think that it's the king saying this. So that continues on in chapter 37. That was verse 30 something there. I was getting the verse number and the chapter number mixed up. Anyway, chapter 7 continues on from where verse 33 left off there. But this is an unfortunate fact of going chapter by chapter. If you were to read this on your own, I would highly encourage you to maybe not cut the story off partway through like that, but as that is where the chapter splits, that, I guess, is all we're going to get for now. Alright, so, I mean, you would have thought Elisha would be in good graces with the king of Aram after what happened with Naaman, his one commander, in the last chapter. But I guess, if you're trying to attack or pursue or target in some way another kingdom and your plans keep getting thwarted because they seem to know your every move, then you find the source of them knowing that every move. I can see wanting to get rid of that. But Elisha gets some help from God to kind of trick those men. And then later, though, after some undescribed amount of time in between. The Arameans come and attack, lay siege to Samaria, and things are looking really bad. The king of Israel is basically blaming it on God. So he goes to the man of God to take out his frustration. He actually wants to kill Elisha, but Elisha already knows that and is not letting that happen as much as he can. And this actually kind of stays unresolved until the next chapter. So tune into the next Bible study video to see what happens for, to the whole siege situation. But, yeah. That's all I got for this video. So, as always, like and share if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to get updates when I post new videos. Look down in the description for links to social media pages and all sorts of good stuff down there. And below that, leave comments with any thoughts or questions. Maybe respond to somebody else's comment if there's one that you find particularly interesting or that you have knowledge of. But anyway, yeah, that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video. Whatever the case is, till next time, stay cool, people.